Oh, hello. Well, it's 5 minutes late. Sorry. Streamlabs is giving me an issue again. I don't know why. It's summer. Maybe it's on summer. It's on summertime right now, so doesn't want to work. Like much of us, we don't want to work either. So yeah, that's why I'm late. I apologize. If I'm speaking funny, it's because my face is sore right now, and I'm on some Tylenol for my tooth. Smashed my tooth this weekend, so if I talk a little funny, that's why. I've noticed it today. I've been lisping and stuff because I've got some dental work that happened. So, anyways, all right. Well, welcome to the show. Sorry again, I'm late, but we're here. Got some things to talk about. The WSOP. So, if anybody knows what the World Series of Poker is, it's the biggest tournament of the year. Not the biggest money wise, as far as like the biggest buy-in, but typically it's the biggest payout. Actually, no, I shouldn't even say it because there actually are bigger ones. But it's the most prestigious tournament, if you will. It's done every year around this time, sometime in July. Right now, they're on the final three. So, and it's a record year. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about what kind of led into that. Also, we're going to talk about Tucker Carlson and some of his cohorts at the Turning Point USA, which is Charlie Kirk's um, sort of conservative movement push, if you will. So we'll talk about that. Some funny things to talk about with that, and with the left, how the left, uh, yeah, what they call it essentially. It's pretty hilarious. Also, Matt Rife. I don't know if you know who he is. If you don't, you will, because he's a pretty big comedian now. He started as a kind of a nobody. For a while, he was doing very little, and then suddenly he went big on TikTok, and now he's like the heartthrob next biggest comedian. So very funny, by the way. So good on him. But we'll talk about him. Uh, Also, a trans woman won Miss Netherlands. So I don't know what to say about that. I think beauty pageants are probably pretty much a archaic thing anyway. So I don't think many people are going to really care too much about that. But it has a whole push towards the weird new agenda. So we'll talk about that as well. Also, the 2024 election in general, just have a discussion about it, what it means for everybody. If it's, you know, some say it's maybe arguably the biggest election of our lifetime due to some of the political climate that's going on, and cultural push and all this kind of thing. So we'll talk about that. And also, sadly, we have to discuss some troubling things that are going on in our children's libraries and schools across North America, with some weird, you know, books, obscene books that shouldn't be for children's eyes. So we'll have a discussion about that as well. If you haven't already and you're watching the show, please hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to the show. Check us out every Monday at 7. I should say myself now. But I will have guests from time to time. So check me out and any guests at 7 o'clock on Mondays. If you miss any of the podcast, or you want to see a video again and you don't want to watch the whole podcast, during the week at 5 o'clock every day, there will be a clip of the podcast with each different discussion or topic of discussion, so you can catch those. Please make sure to like those as well, and that helps obviously the algorithm push this channel and the show. So yeah, and jump into the chat. I'd like to hear from you if you've got a comment or you want to discuss something in the live chat. I do like to engage that way. So if you have something to say, please say it. Okay. So without further ado, let's just get right into the first topic. Okay. So as I said, the WSOP is going on right now as we speak. Actually, I think the final three start today. They might even be in progress right now. Um, so this tournament was actually the biggest in history as far as the WSOP. It had over 10,000 entrants, which is huge. At $10,000 a buy-in, so over $100 million in the prize pool. First place is 12.1 million, just massive. And right now, it's actually three U.S. guys. So yeah, the U.S. poker players typically are some of the better players. But the the European guys are coming out, and they're pretty damn good too. But this year, it's the three top U.S. guys, or the three top guys are U.S. guys. So I'm going to read this article from Forbes. It's Forbes. Take it with a grain of salt. Forbes is kind of a dumpster fire, but here goes. Let's see what they have to say about this. It's not article, so it should be okay. Okay, so the cards are in the air, and the betting and raising has begun at the WSOP final table for the main event. The World Series of Poker World Championship main event has played down from a record-breaking 10,043 entries to the final table of 9 players in the WSOP main event at the Horseshoe in Las Vegas. None of the gladiators or legends of the game made the final table, but some interesting storylines have continued through the main event. I was able to talk with some of the final table participants at the Horseshoe on Saturday. So that's typical now. As far as some of the big names that you'll see, if you're watching poker, if you've watched poker for years on TV, and guys like Phil Ivey or Daniel Negreanu and all these kind of guys, it's very rare that they'll make a final table at this event. Obviously, they got to go through 10,000 players this year, and they have a name, so they have this target on their back. So guys are gunning for them. You got guys that are, that don't really care. It's not as prestigious for them, or the money doesn't really matter or something. One of the two. Maybe they don't care that much to necessarily win the title, or they don't think they're going to, or they don't give a shit about the money. But they're like, they'll take a badge of honor for knocking out Daniel Negreanu on their table or something, right? So these guys have got to survive, and it's typically quite hard. So here's the I'll show you here. This is the final 9 as of it was 2 days ago, I guess. Now I'll tell you where they're at if you aren't current. So this is the final 9 here. Stephen Jones, Juan Mercedes, Daniel Holzner. Never heard of any of these guys. Adam Walton, Ruslan Friedrich, Dean Hutchison, Toby Lewis, Daniel Weinman, and Jan-Peter Jachman. Right now, it's down to Stephen Jones, Adam Walton, and Daniel Weinman. I know that because I'm current with this, but and as I said, they're probably right now playing. So who knows where they're at? As far as I saw, I think Stephen Jones is the chip leader with about 200 million chips. So he's got quite a lead on the other guys. And I think the low stack would be what's his face? It might be Wyman. Actually, I think it's Wyman because I think Walton took out the 4th place guy, and I think he has 163 million or something like that in chips. Fun fact: I know a guy named Adam Walton, so that's kind of funny. But yeah, so if you haven't already, Poker Go, I think online will play it. If you haven't checked that out or anything, I think you can actually check it out. They're a little behind because I think they don't have the TV rights necessarily, but it should be pretty good. I always like watching the final table of these kinds of tournaments. I mean, it's a little bit long because obviously you're playing for $12 million. Second place is like 6, and third place is like 4.5 or something. So the swing is massive. They're not allowed to make deals. I'm pretty sure they're not allowed to make deals because in a lot of other tournaments, you're allowed to make deals for, to split the money, and then they play for a certain amount to get first. So they might be able to, but I'm guessing probably not. Anyways, so if you want to catch this ought to be pretty good. And if you are a poker fan, this is the big league. So, this is the one to watch. Okay, so let's move on to my next thing I want to talk about. So it's obviously, it's going to be Tucker. Tucker in the news. Tucker's been in the news for a little while now, ever since he left Fox. Now he was at the Turning Point USA rally or whatever. I don't even know what they would call that, to be honest. But they do these rallies, if you will. Obviously, it's a rah-rah for the right, for the conservatives. But this article I'm going to read here, it's quite funny. This is from The Independent, so it's going to be garbage, obviously. But the title tells you all. Far-right pundits and lawmakers evangelize and crown Trump and Tucker at Turning Point's Florida conference. Okay. You make them... whatever. They're gonna make them like they're QAnon and all this shit. Anyways, so let me read part of this article until we get a little sick of this article, and then we'll just move on. Okay. On the stage of an influential activist group's 2-day conference. They're activists, apparently. Okay. Far right conspiracy theorists, Republican presidential candidates, and members of Congress veered into Christian nationalist evangelizing, QAnon adjacent conspiracy mongering, and a bleak picture of an America in rapid decline under Democratic leadership. Wow. That's a mouthful of garbage. Okay. The guest speakers at Turning Point USA's inaugural Turning Point Action Conference in Florida repeatedly denied the existence of transgender people, claimed that support for Ukraine is built on a lie, and characterized President Joe Biden as both a frail and incapable stooge and the most corrupt politician of all time. Okay. I think there's a lot of truth to unpack in that. Ukraine being built on a lie? Probably. I mean, doesn't two things can be true. You can say that we want to support the Ukrainians and their independence, but that the war and all the predication of that war, as far as it being a proxy war with the U.S., was built on a lie, and they lied to get support or to foster some uh, support from the people for the war. That can all be true as well. It's okay. Anyways, so this article's garbage, but that's just okay. I think I'm done reading the article because honestly, I don't know if I can stand it. I'll just give you the synopsis of what happened. So Tucker was at Turning Point USA, and he had some of the big political candidates on stage, and he was talking to them. One of them being Mike Pence, and he kind of hammered Mike Pence, which was funny. Mike Pence is he is a career politician. He is that slick snake oil salesman type politician, coming in with the religion end of it, and he's preaching and all this bullshit, but he's just full of shit. He comes off as completely disingenuous to me. I don't think he's even fourth, which is pathetic since he was the vice president. You'd think he would be like the second sort of behind Trump, but he's not even. Anyways, so Tucker was asking him some questions about the Ukraine war, and specifically he asked him about in I guess in the Ukraine. I'm kind of paraphrasing here because I know the information, but I don't know the specifics of it. Now, they've been persecuting in some way religious, like priests and religious people, essentially in the Ukraine. I think that we're technically like Russian or um, Ru- um, you know, maybe they were uh, leaning. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they were supportive of Russia, something of that end. But they're being persecuted essentially as religious leaders. And he asked him that question whether he, whether he was against that or he's going to do something about that. And Pence lied or pretended like he didn't know anything that like that was necessarily going on. He said he spoke to one leader and that's not going on and all this shit. It was kind of pathetic. It was real greasy. He's just a greasy guy. He just really he doesn't he just screams old time politician to me, and I don't think he's going to gain any traction anyway. So, but that's basically what this was about. This Turning Point USA. This was basically a chance for all the Republican presidential candidates to showcase themselves. Kind of in an echo chamber, right? Because obviously Turning Point USA is a right leaning and conservative group, so they're not going in. They're going into into a safe space essentially, but and everybody knows that Trump is the guy. Of course, he's the rock star. He's going to walk in there, and everybody loves Trump. So it's not weird to think that he's gonna steal a show when he's up on stage or any of that kind of, or someone like Tucker. He's very popular, obviously. So these kind of articles that talk about this thing as being like this big uh, right wing conspiracy, QAnon bullshit. No, it's a rally for the conservative side. So stupid. We're so polarized at this point, the left and right, that it's all the like if you're at all left, you're a leftist, woke, uh, crazy, and I don't even know what you want to call them, just woke nut job. If you're right, you're a conservative, gun-toting, uh, white supremacist. You know, like there's no middle ground anymore. It's just you're put in these two baskets, and it's there's no normal. There's no there's no uh, common sense centrists anymore. It seems now, like we're there, we exist, obviously, but according to the media and all the reporting, it's just batshit crazy right, batshit crazy left. You know, depending on what perspective you look at or what media outlet you're looking at. And realistically, that's either got to change or something else is going to happen. So I really think that you know, I think this is going to be a pretty big election cycle, and we'll see how it goes. You know, I think Trump is gonna be the forefront, or is gonna be the nominee on the Republican side. As far as the Democratic side, it's still up in the air for now. I doubt Biden's going to be the guy, but if he is, well, I guess good luck to them. All right. So yeah, I always get sick of talking about politics, but unfortunately, there's not much you can do when you start getting into you start talking about this, you know, uh, crazy climate we live in nowadays. It gets very political, but let's just get off of politics for a minute. I'm gonna I'm gonna get into something a little bit, a little bit more funny, we'll say. So Matt Rife, if you haven't heard of him, he's a very funny comedian. He's a young guy. He's like 27 or something like that. He was relatively unknown up to about a year ago, and he was basically just struggling the scene. Like he was he's going to the comedy clubs, and probably 100 to 200 people going to see his shows and stuff. So like he's making a living, he's eking a living out, sort of thing. But in that time period, I guess he was getting pretty damn funny because he released he set up a TikTok account, and he released a video on TikTok, and his first video did like went viral. I think this article talks about it, so I'm going to read this article here. It's from the New York Times. So again, well, typically these an article from someone like the New York Times is not bad if it's not political. So we'll see how this article is. So it says, making them laugh and swoon. A year ago, Matt Rife was just another struggling road comedian. And then he blew up on TikTok. So the one-nighters were starting to blur together. After 11 years in comedy clubs, Matt Rife was selling around 70 tickets per show. Ooh, less than I thought. Sometimes clearing as little as $150 a night. He wasn't a big enough name last summer to earn an invitation to the Just for Laughs Festival in Montreal, an annual showcase for established comics and promising up-and-comers alike, but he decided to go anyway. During that trip, Mr. Rife underwent a surprise transformation from middling road comic to star, a change he described last week over a cheeseburger lunch in Syracuse, New York. Last July, I was in Montreal for a festival I was not invited to, he said. I had to fly myself out, put myself up for no pay. I was sitting there at dinner with my friend and my manager. I'm about to post this video of crowd work. I was watching it and I was like, this is so stupid. Why am I even doing this? The video in question showed him on stage in Phoenix, Arizona, going back and forth with a female audience member who said he had broken up with her boyfriend because, as she put it, he didn't do anything. When he came home from his job during the exchange, Mr. Rife learned that the woman's ex was an emergency room worker. Okay, well, that's kind of funny. Oh, I'm sorry, you broke up with a hero, he said. Roared to laughter. Okay, so he posted a 2.5-minute video on TikTok, which he had joined a few months earlier. He titled the clip "The Lazy Hero." That video did 20 million views in 2 or 3 days. He said it became this massive chain reaction and explosion of an audience. From then on, every video I posted went viral. Okay, so I have watched a decent amount of Matt Rife. He is funny, and he's got incredible crowd work, and that's what. So we get these comedians that do well online and such. It's not necessarily like clips from their comedy acts. It's more this riffing off the crowd. There's another guy. I can't remember his name offhand, but he's got a massive stutter. I can't remember his name right now, but he's funny as heck. Same thing. He just riffs off the crowd. But Matt Rife, if you watch him, That's what he does. He'll go into a little bit of a set of his stuff and then just right off the crowd. So it's pretty good for guys like that. They don't need to have a ton of written material. They can just get up on stage and kind of get their crowd work going and such. That's, I guess, what he did for 10 years. So he got very good at this. And if you look at the guy, I mean, he's 27, good looking guy. He's in good shape. He's playing that card too, right? It's working for him. Again, I'm not disparaging on him. I mean, good on him. He happens to be a nice shiny penny, but he's funny as heck. So this guy's going to be probably one of the next big comedians. I think this article actually. Let me read a little bit more. I think it talks about him. Oh, here we go. It talks about his world tour. So problematic world tour. He sold out 260 dates in North America, Europe, and Australia in 48 hours. 600,000 tickets he sold, each ranging between about 50 to 95 bucks, according to Live Nation. It crashed the Ticketmaster website. Okay, so yeah, they're talking about his good looks and stuff. Yeah, so okay, so, yeah, he's good looking. That helps you, obviously. It helps you online for sure. Helps the click. People click because they see a good looking guy and they're like, oh, let's see what he has to say, and he's funny. So like. He could be good looking and just a garbage comedian and nobody's going to watch him. But so happens he's very good too. So check check him out if you haven't seen him. Matt Rife, you can find him anywhere. Just by minis all over the place. Check out a couple of his clips. You'll thank me. He's quite funny. Okay, so let's go into, now that we got that over with, let's go into a little bit of a darker. I say darker, whatever. I guess we'll call it darker. This here, I mean, it's again, it's a beauty pageant. So a transgender woman won the Miss Netherlands pageant. This is silly. Pageants are silly anyway, but I mean, realistically, what's it based on? It's based on looks, right? What are they asking a bunch of stupid questions? Oh, what would you do to better the world? I would save all the children and I would cure world hunger. Yeah, sure. Okay, just go. Shut up. Go over there. Look pretty. Here's your little ribbon. So yeah. So I don't think anybody really takes this all that serious anyway. But it is. I don't know how I would feel. Like, I don't know how I would feel if I was a woman, a biological woman, and I enter a pageant. And everybody tells me I'm good looking, and I look in the mirror, and I have two eyes, and I know I'm pretty good looking, and then I get beat by a brand new woman. It's I don't even know what to say about this. Like, 'cause again, I don't really care. This one doesn't really move my mercury at all. I really don't give too much of a shit about pageants and stuff like that. I already think that they're quite, you know, they're narcissistic. It's like, oh, here, look at me, and vote me the prettiest of all these people. Okay, well, different people are pretty and good looking for different reasons, right? So it's like, yeah, who's voting? You got, I don't know, 10, I don't even know how many. Let's just say 10 judges. And if 6 of them think you're the prettiest, so you get the majority. Well, okay. But you could line up 100 and, 60 would think another one was pretty. So, like, who knows? It's luck of the draw at this point. I'll read this article a little bit. It's BBC News. So, Miss Netherlands transgender model broke boundaries with beauty pageant win. Ooh, broken boundaries. I'll be honest, whatever. I'll take a little criticism for this. If you see this transgendered woman, when she's not moving her face, okay. I mean, it looks like a woman. It looks a fairly pretty woman. Now, when the mouth opens, changes things. But it's just my personal opinion. But so I can, that's fine. I mean, as far as a beauty pageant, okay. I mean, it's all about the looks. It's all about just there's no substance there. It's just all about the what you can see. So yeah, I guess if you dress up like a woman and you look like a woman, okay, yeah, fair enough. You're going to be able to win a pageant. So, Ricky Valerie Coley, I don't know how to say this name, has made history as the first transgender woman to win Miss Netherlands. It's the first time in the Dutch pageant's 94-year history that a trans woman has been crowned winner. It means the 22-year-old will be the second openly trans competitor to take part in Miss Universe in December this year. Oh yeah, there's the other one. I think Philippines or something like that. She's been speaking to BBC Newsbeat about backlash and breaking boundaries. From the moment her name was called as the winner, Ricky says she simply couldn't believe it. I was in full disbelief the moment they called my name. I was like, oh my God, is this really happening? She says. You're living through a really intense but also energizing period, and you just want to finish the great final with other contestants. Okay. This would be funny, actually, because I don't know if Donald Trump still does the Miss Universe. If, if he does, you know, is he going to be is he going to be is he going to be grabbing people by the pussies? I don't know. You got a couple landmines in there, buddy. Careful. We snuck a couple in there. Oh, there's a couple landmines in there, bud. Just careful what you grab. That's all. Because you don't know what you might grab. All I'm saying. So, good on her. You know, as long hey, she's not fucking she's not punching the shit out of other chicks, and she's not beating them at sports and stuff. So I guess this is kind of a win. All right. So let's move on to the next thing. It's funny because I'm kind of going to talk a little bit. Well, I don't know if it doesn't pertain, but it it almost does as far as same sort of thing here. But this book, Gender Queer. Probably never heard of it. I hadn't heard of it until I don't know. I think I caught an article or something like that. This book is, I guess, it's been banned in a bunch of libraries across the states. It's pretty bad. I'm not going to show you any images or anything like that because I probably get censored if I do. But it literally has the type of images in this book, and this is a book that's written essentially for teenagers. And this book has images in it that you would have to blur out, essentially. So by that I mean like, you know, boys performing fellatio on other boys and all these kinds of things. So I'm going to read this article. This is from Capital Research Center. Who knows? Anyways, so here it is. So the NEA recommends the book Gender Queer. So I read it. Now this article is, you can tell it's very conservative. So I read a little bit of it, but I didn't get a chance to read all of it. But from what I read, I can tell it's written by a conservative woman. So here it is. So Gender Queer is considered the most banned book in America. At least 138 school districts in 32 states have banned the book from their libraries. Now, I don't agree with book banning, but in schools, I do. It's just the same. You're just censoring. Like, you put ratings on stuff, and you don't let kids go, under certain ages go in to see certain movies. So it's just, but it's not. I think you should be able to find the book on Amazon or whatever you want. If you're looking for this book, you should be able to find it. Just not in a kid's library. So, but let's be clear from the beginning. This does not mean the book is forbidden oh yeah. Okay. So that you cannot find it anywhere. You can still get the book on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and at most public libraries. It's even in those little free library boxes in more affluent neighborhoods, which is where I found my copy. I'm glad I didn't have to buy it. So banning queer gender does not attack free speech as the left often decries. This is a debate on what is appropriate literature to place in front of the eyes of our children in public schools. Exactly, yeah. Our societal rules have always maintained a certain standard of censorship to protect the eyes of innocent children from openly sexual and debased content. It's why we have movie ratings. That's probably where I got that from reading this article like hours ago. The 32 states working to ban the book may seem like a victory, but it isn't. That's too low of a bar to consider it a victory. This book should be banned from our schools nationwide. Furthermore, the book should have never been in our K through 12 schools in the first place. Right. So Apparently, they voted in Maine to keep the book in. Get the hell out of here. Yeah, Maine. Surprised. Maine, one of the most left leaning, weird places it seems in the U.S. at this point. Okay. So you can see that this article was written by somebody who supports obviously this type of censoring this kind of book from children, which I just don't understand why that is controversial at this point. It's kids, like what? I don't know. I just shake my head at this point. I don't know when we're just going to say enough's enough with the slight these little attacks on kids, on the innocence of kids. Now suddenly, what we're going to just say, no, you're not allowed to tell kids that Santa Claus exists anymore because I don't know. That's somehow like abusive to the parents that buy the gifts. I don't know. You can make any nonsense argument you want about any of that. Well, we just leave the fucking kids alone. Let them be nice and innocent. Don't teach them about sex or any of that shit until it matters. Until at least puberty or past, and then you can start having conversations with them and say, hey, you know what? When they start to get a little bit curious on what they're doing and such. But we're putting these books out there with all these weird images and shit for them to 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 corrupt their minds with, or let imagination corrupt their minds. I'm sure it's doing a good enough job. Leave the fucking books out of it. So sickening. It's just these crazy attacks on kids that I just find disgusting. And it's a never ending thing, whether it's drag queens doing story time or fucking weird books in kids' libraries. Sorry, my mouth's getting dry from the anger, the rage. Okay. So the last thing I'm going to talk about, and I'll be very quick with this one because I don't care, quite honestly. Yeah, the 2024 election. I've already talked about it a little bit in the podcast about it being a very important election. I think personally it could be the biggest election of the last century, essentially. There's so much going on in this election. There's so much going on as far as like just our economy, inflation, all these kinds of things. The dollar being at the precipice, the debt ceiling being raised all the time. What's the debt level at now in the U.S. like 33 trillion or something? It's crazy. In Canada, it's not much better. I mean, it's nowhere near that, but it's as far as our level to GDP, it's crazy. So, and then you know, you've got the Ukraine war with Russia and then China. Like you've got so many different things going on that if we don't get some semblance of adults taking over again and not okay, let me be clear on this. Adults taking over at our uh, you know, at our we picked them essentially. Not a deep state or a a fourth branch of the government that essentially shadow governs, and then realistically who we vote doesn't really matter anyway because all this shit's just going to happen anyway whether or not whatever figurehead is in there. We need a government that actually takes control and actually does what's good for the country, whatever country it is. So right now obviously I'm talking about the US elections. Same here in Canada because I'm in Canada. If you're watching for the first time, I'm Canadian. I do have political opinions about your land. Uh, I just consider us the 51st state, realistically, because we're only free because you let us be. We thank you for that. Uh, but your elections matter. The U.S. elections matter big time to Canada, and I think conversely, at times ours matter a bit to you guys too, as far as what we're doing up here, and then some of the push that happens in the northern states. You get some of the close to Canadian states. They're pretty much like Canadians. If you go to like North Dakota or Michigan or some other bordering states, New York and such, you get a lot of the same type of people. It's just so the politics are pretty close to the same. I mean, they've been crossing the border and intermingling for so long. It doesn't change much, but I really think we need to, at this point, get president that is not necessarily right or left of any heavy lean, just a centrist type of president that sees that the bureaucracy and the bloated government is just not good for the country in general. So maybe some house cleaning, maybe some executive branch house cleaning, maybe cleaning up the FBI and CIA and some of these other organizations that kind of run rickshaw and amok from the government. So it would be nice to see. I don't know. I'm not gonna say which president or uh, which candidate is the guy or gal at this point. Um, there are a couple that I would say that probably have the best chance of maybe doing that. Some that would surprise you even, and some that sadly I don't think have a shot of even winning. So, but it'll be nice to see if some of these other sort of dark horses can rise up and actually get some traction because we could really use some new fresh leadership that maybe isn't in bed with some of the some of these deep state actors, if you will, and some of these three-letter organizations that seem to be running the show. Okay, so that's enough of that. My tooth hurts. A lot of talking, smacking it. Um, thanks for watching the show. If uh, if you did get to this point, thank you. Nobody really had anything to say to me, probably because I speak too fast. That's most likely what it is. Um, but yeah, if you liked it, obviously hit the like or subscribe if you haven't already. And check out my videos over the week at 5 o'clock, Monday through Sunday. I'll post a new video every day at 5 o'clock with each topic of discussion and share them with your friends. Check the show out every Monday at 7 o'clock and jump in the comments. Start talking to me so I can talk to you so I'm not the only one talking in the room. But again, thanks for joining if you did. And we'll see you next Monday, I guess, at 7 o'clock.